everyone, I am back. I have Penelope here, although you can't see her, maybe just a little bit of her tail. So if you hear somebody yelling for pets, that is her. But I wanted today to go over and just show you some of the garden slash plant related items that I got in France to bring back as souvenirs. I didn't get a lot because I didn't have a ton of room to bring stuff back in my suitcase. And one of the items I got, even though it's not super large, kind of took up a good chunk of the space. But I don't know if everything I got is necessarily garden related, but I think everything almost has something to do with plants. I don't go with the intention of getting things specifically for the garden, but that's what I love. That's my hobby. So that's just what I'm drawn to. That was Penelope rubbing on the camera. You want to come say hi? You want to say hi? No? All right. So I figured I would start with this, and I'm hoping the plastic doesn't make it too shiny, but this is a print of Claude Monet's garden, so a print of a photo that he made of his garden. If you haven't seen the video yet where I go over our trip and show you some of the actual videos and images of the garden, definitely do that. But I got this at like the gift store at the end. It was maybe about 10 pounds, but I've decided, because I never really knew, I know we travel a lot. I do enjoy being home. I am a very like homebody type person, and my favorite trips to take are driving trips, because then I can just throw everything in the trunk of the car and not worry about trying to fit everything into a suitcase. But I do love getting to experience new places. So I've never really had a thing that I collect except for when I was a kid. But now I think what I want to do is start getting prints of gardens that I have visited. And then I can add these, either frame them and hang them up or put them on the bookshelves that I have in the other room. I'm not 100% sure yet what I'm going to do. But prints themselves are usually pretty cheap. Now, if I can find a frame that fits, that's great. If you have a custom size and it's a little bit harder, framing can get more expensive than I realized. But I think it'll be nice to have drawings of the gardens that I go to, even though I love having the actual photos too. I just think that'll be really nice. So this is my, I would say, second type of print that I have from a garden. What made me realize that's what I want to do is I got this postcard when we were in, where were we? Santa Barbara, at the San Isidro Ranch, which is owned by the Beanie Baby inventor, who I didn't realize why there were so many Beanie Babies in the gift shop until I learned that. But this is just a postcard. Again, pretty cheap, a couple dollars, maybe $1. And this has already been sitting on my bookshelf. So I think it'll be nice to, again, just kind of start a collection of gardens that I've been to. The next time we go to the Chicago Botanic Garden, which I think we're going to try to go in the next couple weeks, because we've never gone to see the leaves change. It's always such a, well, last year I think we got a few good weeks of leaf changes, but sometimes it can be short. So we're going to try to go and time it right. And while I'm there, I will hopefully find some sort of print, smaller print that I can add to my collection, because that's the garden we go to the most. So I should have a print from there. Penelope's looking at me with very loving eyes. Hi. While we were gone on our trip, we have a very great team of pet sitters. So if you're in Chicago, I think they only do in the actual Chicago area. We are their pet care. We're their pet care. And they send emails and photos of the cats. And Penelope is a cat who doesn't really like people. I think it took her, we were gone for 10 days. I think it took her about a week to actually come down from hiding and let the cat sitter give her some pets. And she's a very good girl. Penelope, you want to come say hi to the camera? No, she's not a cat that likes to be picked up though, so I'm not going to do that. So I think I've only shown one thing so far and then talked about my cat. Let me show you next is this trunk, and that looks a lot bigger than it actually is. Let me put it more closer to my head. So it's maybe like a little bit over a foot long, maybe like 8 inches wide. So it is relatively small, kind of like the size of a toolbox. I got this in Ez, I think, outside of the Jardin Exotique. So I'm scaring Penelope by opening this. Now there's a lot of stuff in here, so let me take that out first, because that's just my other souvenirs that I got. So Yeah, the first print I showed you, that was from, well, Giverny, but the Paris part of our trip. This was from the Nice part of our trip. And I want to use this as seed storage because I like to use things that look pretty, but are also can be practical, if that makes sense. So right now, a lot of my seeds are in an old toolbox, which maybe other people don't think old toolboxes are pretty, but I do. It's a green toolbox, a little bit of rust, but I think I've almost filled that up with my seeds. So might as well get a second one. And this, I mean, maybe it'll be seeds, maybe it'll be something else garden related, but I also want to put it on my shelves somewhere where it'll look pretty. I think I'm going to do like a shelf redesign as the garden season kind of winds down. Let me go let Penelope out of the door because I'm here to serve her. And I'm back. I bet she will start yelling at the door. I just closed the door to keep the noise down, but she's gonna start yelling at the door pretty soon to be let back in. So anyway, this was the most expensive and largest item that I got. I think it was about 50 pounds. I don't know what the pounds to dollars is currently right now, but it was, I think, just slightly more. Like $1 is worth slightly less. So if it's like €1, it's like 1 point something dollars. I don't know. So it was 50 euros. It was maybe like slightly more than $50 for that. Excited to use that. I don't know if it technically is like something that's old from a thrift store, things that I like, or if there were like hundreds of those in the store that I went in the back room and I just didn't know. That was the only one I saw there. So I think that'll be special to think back on. Next, well, let's go here. You know what? No, I'm gonna hop back to Paris since that was the first half. I got this tea towel, which still smells like olive oil, even though it's been over a week now since I got it. Longer than that. But it was from, so we did a walking tour, which is really great. I highly recommend it, which was just walking us around different shops in Paris. So they obviously know stores that we probably wouldn't have popped into. They have relationships with the people there. So it was really nice. You got to learn a little bit about the history as well. We didn't go in, but we did see the oldest cafe in Paris where apparently Benjamin Franklin, maybe Thomas Edison visited. And I did look that up later and confirmed it. We weren't just, you know, being told a story. But this was from a store that had a bunch of olive oil, a bunch of, I'm going to mispronounce this, tapenade, which we got some of, but we ate it before we left. Trying to open this up. I haven't opened it since we got back. I have a problem, and I'm willing to admit, of getting tea towels that are then too pretty to use. So I end up using a bunch of old rags, and these just kind of hang around and look pretty. But I am going to start like maybe ranking my tea towels, and the ones that I think are extra pretty, like this one, which has an olive tree on it. I think it's supposed to be an olive tree. That has this on it, I won't use, and it'll be just more of a decorative towel. And then I'm going to start using my other ones because everything can't be decorative because then nothing is useful. So yeah, this is the tea towel. And I think it'll be nice to have like that memory tied to it of just getting it from, you know, like a little tucked away store in an alley. I almost don't want to wash it because it smells so good like olive oil, but I probably will at some point. So that is a tea towel. Again, not expensive, less than 10 euros. I don't remember exactly how much it was. And then the last place that I got stuff from was on the walking tour as well. And the tour guide had a good relationship, knows the owner very well, and I'm glad she did because this seems like it's one of those shops. It was very hidden away in a courtyard. You wouldn't know how to get to it if you were just walking by because you'd have to kind of go off the main street. And it seems like it's one of those places where there's not really, well, maybe there are open hours, but you kind of just go, and if the owner's there, she's there, and if she's not there, she's not there. So I like that kind of, I don't know, just unique stores. But as soon as we walked in, it was called Tomates. And she did ask to leave a review if we liked it, so I left a Google review there. But it was, when we walked in, the best smelling black pepper I've ever smelled. Like that was just a scent that filled the air. I don't know if that's weird or if that's a smell you wouldn't like, but I ended up getting some of the black pepper. This is where we get into the like, is this really garden related? But it's plant related, food related. Oh, it still smells so good. And I'm probably also going to describe this not the best way, but we got to taste everything, little samples, and the peppercorns in here are soft. I mean, not super soft, but they're not like hard like I'm used to getting from the grocery store. And I'm trying to think exactly what she said. It's because it's made with the peppers when they're fresh and not when they've been dried. So I don't know if that's 100% how she described it or if I just completely butchered that story, but this smells so good. And now that I am showing you, this means I can actually start using it soon. So I got some of that pepper. I also got some cinnamon because I eat cinnamon every morning. Open this up so I can give it a sniff. This is in a bag, so I'll open these up, and I have my own shakers that I use for dried herbs that I just got from Amazon, so I'll probably put it in one of those. But I have cinnamon every morning, whether it's on yogurt or oatmeal. I'm not a person who tends to change their breakfasts around a lot. It just makes it easier to start the morning knowing what I'm gonna have. But cinnamon every morning, I'm very excited for this. I'm gonna assume this is not a thing where I can order some online when I run out. So I'm gonna be very sad having to go back to my regular grocery store cinnamon. I mean, there are good spice shops in Chicago, but I've just never smelled anything that smells that good. So yeah, from there I got black pepper, cinnamon, and then I also got 2 fruit vinegars. So I got one that is raspberry and one that is lemon. They had a few other there, but these are my 2 favorites. And I like salads a lot. So I will eat them with like balsamic vinegar mix, but I've never been a person who would like eat a straight tablespoon of vinegar. I think some people do that for health reasons. I'm not sure, but the smell of it on its own and the taste of it on its own is not really appealing. Like if I'm having balsamic on a salad, it has to be mixed with pepper and olive oil. I was drinking that by the spoonful when she was giving us taste tests. It tastes so good. So I'm excited to use this on salads. I'm wondering what else. I mean, I'm gonna have to look up different ways to use fruit vinegar, but so good. Like I could drink this right now. I'm pretty sure that's not healthy for you, so I'm not going to do that. Everything is in French, so I can only understand a little bit of it. My husband and I did make an effort to try to speak French there as much as possible. My husband took it in high school, which was half of our lives ago, so he remembers a little bit. I studied a little bit before we left just on my own online, and I knew enough to say like to greet people, to ask where the bathrooms were, to order, but it was just funny because as soon as we would say like bonjour, I think they could tell by our accents, they're like, all right, we're just gonna speak in English and make things easier for both of us. So although we did a little bit of conversing in French, most of what we said there with other people was in English because people there speak English much better than people in America are taught French or anything like that. So even though we tried our best, they knew that we were native English speakers. That is everything I got then from France. Again, I didn't get that, or sorry, from Paris. Again, I didn't get that much. I just got things that I thought would be really special. So then in Nice, I have 3 more things that I got. I got this book from a bookstore. It is all in French. It's called Le Langage des Fleurs, which I'm going to assume means the language of flowers. And again, flipping through this, I can recognize, because I feel like I'm more familiar with garden words in French, because that, I don't know if I'm just looking at garden terms more often, but I can recognize some more of the words there. And my goal will be to like at least sort of be able to read some of these chapters at some point. I always had wished that I had taken French in high school, even though it's probably not as applicable as like taking Spanish, where there's a lot more Spanish speakers in the United States than there would be native French speakers. But I always had wished that I'd taken it in high school because I took it in middle school for 1 semester and really liked it, but then took Spanish because all my friends took Spanish. Remember a little bit of that. I really wish they taught us languages from an early age in the United States like they do in other countries. I feel like now I'm rambling and going off topic, but I would like to take more French classes. I actually had signed up for an online one here. So I've been doing Duolingo. I did an online, like all self-paced, like pre-recorded class. I had signed up earlier this year for an online, but like live class, but then the timing I signed up for got switched to a time that wouldn't work for me. So I'm gonna try to do that maybe over winter as a way to fill my time when the garden's asleep, but I would like to be able to actually flip through and understand more of this. There's also a lot of beautiful drawings, which I love, and you'll see more of that in a second. I think this book, so this one was obviously printed in like the last few years, but I feel like I was looking up the history of this. Like the copyright of this book is 2023, but I feel like the original book is from a few decades ago. I'll have to look that up. But anyway, yeah, I thought this would be a really nice little addition to my garden library, but I don't want it to just sit there. I want to actually be able to read and understand some of it. So yeah, little book there. And then the other two things I got were from a bookstore, which I can't remember the name of, in Nice. We walked in because I saw prints in the window, and I love prints like this. I love old botanical illustrations, drawings. I have some framed already. My plan is with this to get it framed and hung as well. And so when I walked by, I knew I wanted to grab some. These, again, not expensive. I think it was cheaper than 10 euros. I'm pretty sure it was less than 10 euros per print. And so I will try to find a frame for this and get it hung on my wall. So this one is a plant. The other one I got is my other love, which is cats. I just saw this. First of all, there are a lot of botanical prints there. I've limited myself because I know I didn't need a million. But then I also saw this one, and it had some cats on it. So it says Le Chat Domestique, Le Chat d'Angora, and then in the bottom it's Le Chat Sauvage. So I imagine it's like the domestic cat and the undomesticated savage cat. So I thought that'd be nice. I don't know if I'm gonna frame this one or just put it like on a stand somewhere on the shelf, or what I'm gonna do with this one yet. But those are the two prints that I got. And that's everything. That's everything that I got there. So yeah, not too much, not too expensive. Most expensive was that little trunk. And, oh no, there's one more thing. Where's my tea? I knew I was forgetting something. So I got this tea in Paris at a, I don't know if it would technically be called a bakery, but they had macarons or macaron, and a bunch of teas. I'm gonna butcher what they told us here as well, but the chef is like an award-winning top chef where he gets to wear a special chef collar because of the award he won. So again, I'm sorry I'm butchering those details, but it was really nice to stop in there. We obviously ate all of the sweets that we bought from there, but this tea, as soon as I sniffed it, I knew I had to have it. So the reason I forgot about this is because I've already used it a couple times, but this is, let me see if it says what is in here. No, it definitely has vanilla in it. Oh, here we go, on the bottom. So it is thé noir au chocolat, vanille, caramel, and châtaigne. So chocolate, vanilla, caramel, and whatever that last word is. But in the winter, so in the summer, I feel like I crave more fruit teas, lemon tea, green tea. In the winter, I love chocolate chai tea, which I have to get some more from Starved Rock. So if you're looking for good chocolate chai tea, there's a spice shop in Oglesby, Illinois, by Starved Rock that has some really good chai tea. This one just smells delicious too. Do I have another good? Oh no, I also then just mix in like cacao powder into my tea. So that's what I'm into in the winter. And I figure, even though it's still relatively warm in Chicago, we are headed into that season. So I wanted to get some tea to use there. I don't know, I feel like this, it seemed more of like a well-known brand. So I might be able to actually like order more of this online, unless it's incredibly expensive to get. But yeah, I think like the spices, I think once they're done, they're done. Now that is everything that I got from France. And I do think, like, I try not to get too much because I don't want to clutter up our home that much. But I want to get things that'll be really meaningful, things that we'll use, like the food, things that when I see them, I'll remember the trip, and they won't just be things that are like tucked away, I don't know, to just gather dust. So I'm really excited with everything I got. I think that's gonna be everything for this video, and I will see you in the next one when we be back out in the garden.